All right, what's happening, everyone? Freedom of Fitness here for Ballistic Songwriting. How are you guys doing? I decided to do another Q&A because yesterday's Q&A was such a failure. And yeah, so welcome. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Live! I am live again, guys, even though I just was live yesterday. How crazy is that? Well, let's see how this goes and see if any people will join me today. And if it goes a little better than yesterday. I know this is totally unprepared. I didn't warn you guys at all. So I wouldn't be surprised if it goes bad again. But we'll see. We'll see. So hopefully today we're going to have a couple more viewers, and things will not look as grim as yesterday. All right. So what's been happening since yesterday? Not much, I'm afraid. I'm just going to bridge the time until someone actually shows up for the live chat. And I hope it's going to be a little bit more people than yesterday. This is more kind of like also like a little bit of a test to see if everyone is getting like a notification. Hi, Melton. How's it going? So we have our first viewer. That's cool. So I thought I'd maybe talk a little bit more about some of the things that I'm working on at the moment. I'm working on, first of all, I'm working on a new YouTube series, which is about to release today. Is that right? Hold on, let me check that in my calendar. But I think it's going to release tomorrow. Yeah. So videos this year, I've set myself the goal to release videos on the main channel every Wednesday and Saturday. So 2 video releases every week, plus the live Q&A every Monday. So hopefully that's going to be enough for you guys to feed your hungry songwriting souls. And tomorrow, a new show is going to premiere on the Holistic Songwriting page. Good morning, everyone. And that is going to be called The Hit Song Architect. And in tomorrow's video, I'm basically going to show you guys, or explain to you guys what that is all about. What else? I've also been working on the board game some more, and that's coming along nicely. I'm now on the 5th version. So I've designed 5 completely different games. And this one, the thing is, you know, I've gone through several versions that were, so they've gotten more and more realistic over time. And so one of the problems that I struggled with was that so the way the music industry works is you do a lot of stuff for a really long time that doesn't matter, or that it does matter, but you don't see any results for it. And then all of a sudden you get this exponential growth. And that is really tricky to translate to board games, because in board games you want to do something and you want to get something for it. So I was really struggling with that, and then the exponential nature of it made it really difficult to, you know, there's something like you have to think about the components to put into the game, and you can't put like too much money into the game, because that would just be very expensive and that would just drive the price up. So there's a lot of things I'm trying to keep in mind while I'm designing as well already, so I don't run into problems later. So that's a bit of an issue. But now the newest version so the last version that I played was very realistic, also very, very difficult, a lot of small rules. It was basically a simulation of the music industry. And then I played it, and I thought, well, this works, but it's not fun. And ultimately, I think this should be fun. And so I scrapped the whole thing, and I designed something new. And I mean, it always builds up upon what's already been there. And I took the best mechanics from that. And that's how I always work. You know, the first iteration still had some things I liked. I took that into the second iteration, all the way up to the 5th iteration now, which has all the best things I like from my first 4 games, basically. And I think there's some really nice mechanics in there that really are new and feel fresh and fun, and it makes sense with the music industry. And I think it's going to be a fun, cute game that you can also play with your family, if you already have family, and or you could also play it with, you know, more serious board gamers, I guess. So that's kind of my goal for myself. I want to make a game that is accessible and fun, but that also makes sense within the music industry, and uses that theme in a meaningful way. So that's kind of what I've been working on. So now let's see if we have any viewers. Oh man, it's still only 7 viewers. Is no one getting notifications for this? I wonder how that works. Is it maybe the wrong time? I mean, most of my viewers are probably in America. And so now it's 2 p.m. So that must mean that in New York it would be 8 a.m. in the morning, and in LA it would be 5 a.m. in the morning. Is that right? So that's probable. that not a lot of Americans are watching here, but I've gotten some comments from like people from Australia and some other countries who said like they could never watch my live Q&As just because they were such an inconvenient time for them. So that's kind of why I wanted to do this as well. You got notified. Oh, that's great. Awesome. Okay, that's very good to hear, JTR. So that's kind of why I wanted to do this as well, to see if there's a demand for something like this. And maybe I'll do these every once in a while just to like speak to the rest of the world as well, instead of just America, even though America is my main, my target audience, so to say, for now at least. I just want to focus myself a little bit just to make it a little bit easier for myself. It has nothing to do with like, oh, America is better than all the other countries in the world. It's really just for myself to make things a little bit easier for myself in terms of the marketing and, you know, how I direct my message and stuff like that. Good. Shall we move over to the chat? I think we shall. So there we go. Here it is. A couple of people here. We have 9 viewers at the moment, which is not great, but we'll see how it goes. Maybe some more people will show up. Right now, it's only going up, so we'll see how it goes. So, Meltem Arslan says, which is, I guess, a Turkish name, is it? Where are you from, Meltem? He says, is it possible, or she says, man, I don't know. Sorry, Meltem. Is it possible that being a songwriter without knowing how to play an instrument, is it possible to be a songwriter without knowing how to play an instrument? It is. I have a few friends who are just producers, basically, that just like to write. And some of them write quite good stuff. It just, the nature of the music is a little bit different. Like mostly they're EDM producers and DJs and that do write their own stuff. I don't think I know any people who write band music or even pop music. Do I know anyone who writes pop music who doesn't play an instrument? I don't think so. I think, and it's mostly because playing an instrument is fun. You know, if you're into music, then learning an instrument is a great thing to do. So Meltem, if you are interested in songwriting, then learning an instrument is a great thing to do. Mostly because it's fun and it's going to expand your musicality and it's going to reward you tremendously for the time that you put into it. But also because being able to, you know, pull out a guitar and, you know, the classic situation, you know, sitting around a bonfire and playing some guitar is a great feeling. It will make you happy. It's a great thing to do, you know, and so I would highly recommend that you do learn an instrument, especially if you're interested in writing more band-driven music, and by that I mean rock music especially, but also pop music, because pop music basically follows, oftentimes, not all the time, but maybe like a third of pop music still nowadays follows traditional band settings. So maybe they replaced a classic piano with a synthesizer, and they replaced a, you know, plucked bass with an actual synth, you know, like a Moog like this one, but it's still kind of the same thing. So it is definitely rewarding to learn an instrument, even if you're just writing pop. If you're just writing EDM, I wouldn't say it's necessary, but again, for your musicality, I think it's a great thing. It's a great thing to learn an instrument. Cool. Christian Bray is in Colorado, and for some reason he was awake, so he tuned in. Cool. It's a female name. All right. Cool. Thanks, Melton. Rock bottom, the like button. Cool. All right. Anyone else got any questions? This is probably going to be a short session. This is more like a, I gotta say, like more like a little bit of an experiment to see if some people tune in. But we have 10 viewers now, so it's climbing up slow and steady. Hello from Florida. I'm at work, says Roderick Holman. Jesus, man, you're in Florida? So it's, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. It's 8:15 there, and cool. Yeah, that makes sense. So you just arrived at work. How's it going there? You good? You're probably not listening to this, are you? You probably just commented on a video that you have muted or something. Would be a weird thing to do otherwise. Or do you have like the coolest job in the world where you get to watch live Q&As by random Germans? 7:14? Wait. How is that? So wait, is Florida a different time zone than New York? Huh. Interesting. Wait, am I stupid? No. It's a 6-hour difference, right? Anyways, cool. I'm thinking of learning guitar and piano. Thanks for the answer. Yeah, I think those are probably the best instruments to start with, Malcolm. like, I'm a guitarist. I wish I was a better pianist just because of these things here. It's so much fun to play with them. I just wish I could play them better, you know. And guitar I found is really useful if you're into rock music. Then guitar is the best instrument to learn for sure, because that allows you to play bass guitar as well. And so basically you're two flies, one stone. But man, for almost everything else production related, being able to, you know, play the piano a little bit is really, really cool. Although on the other hand side, I've talked to a couple of professionals, you know, people that have written for some of the biggest companies in the world. So they're more like on the company side of things. They're not really putting out music that a lot of people know, but it's more stuff like, so they write for Mercedes and what else was it? Volkswagen, I think. And so he said, anyways, so he's based in Holland, in Tilburg. And he told me he's not a great pianist either. He's like definitely a rock guitarist, and he's a really good guitarist. But he likes to write on the piano just like I do, just because you're not so good at it. It forces you to write some simpler melodies, and that is a really cool thing that I've also noticed. So sometimes it's great to play an instrument that you're not really that good at, because it forces you to come up with something that is simple instead of on the guitar where you're just like playing licks and you're playing as fast as you can, and that typically doesn't lead to very good songwriting. JTR says, I am just getting into the acoustic guitar. I've started learning like 2 years ago, but stopped for like half a year. In short, I didn't give it a lot of time. Yeah. Great story, Mark. Or JTR, whatever your name is. Yeah, acoustic guitar is cool. So I started out on classical guitar, so that means nylon strings. And then I moved to, I believe the next thing was electric guitar for me. So I mean, I started playing guitar when I was 5 years old, so that was like a really long time ago, so I'm not quite sure anymore. I think next thing was an e-guitar. Electric guitar, yes, and that's when I started learning rock chords. So I never went the classical route, even on nylon stringed guitar, on classical guitar, so to say. I never really played classical music. I think the first things I played were just like nursery rhymes, and then, yeah, I think it was just immediately going into like strummed chords for like, you know, Lemon Tree, that kind of stuff. And I guess some Beatles song or something. That's kind of some Beatles songs. That's kind of the first things I played, I think, on guitar. Then I moved to rock guitar, and that's where my guitar teacher introduced me to people like Lenny Kravitz and Green Day. And that's kind of when I got into that whole rock thing. And it took me a really long time, I think, before I started playing Western guitar with steel strings, which has a much harsher sound, which I still love. Like, you know, steel strings I really think sounds great. And I really got into music like Antoine Dufour. I saw Andy McKee live, and I have a signature of him on my guitar. Those kind of people, like this fingerstyle acoustic is what this style is called, and it's a really interesting way of playing the guitar, where you're just kind of experimenting with the guitar in terms of like how to play it, you know. So so Andy McKee has this really popular song on YouTube that's called Drifting. That was kind of I think that was the first video I saw of fingerstyle acoustic, and then I really got into the scene quite deeply and learned a lot of the songs by transcribing them and playing them. And Antoine Dufour is probably my favorite, but Andy McKee has this one song, Drifting, where he just kind of plays the power chords, the bar chords on the top of from the top of the, what's it called, the neck, and then like sort of slaps sort of like a drum thing. So that's kind of the rhythm that he goes for, and then with the right hand he plays sort of the melody on top of it. And it's with open tunings, and it's just super experimental. It's very, very challenging, so not something for beginners, but that was kind of my next step. And then I got into jazz guitar on the electric guitar, and now I'm kind of back to electronic, I guess, to rock guitar and stuff like that, and more pop. All right. Roderick says, hello, I'm using Sonar Professional and was wondering how can I save my files to open up in a different recording software to work on it. Well, in general, that's not really possible. Software isn't really like, for example, I can't open up a Logic session in Pro Tools. What I have to do basically is bounce everything out and then import it again as audio and MIDI files. but that means I have to do a lot of reassigning. So for example, for my audio, I mean, I'm just going to bounce out the audio probably without the effects if I still want to have complete control in the new session, or I leave all the effects on if it's just a tiny mixing bit that I want to do in another software. That's how I'm going to treat the audio. So either like bounce them with the effects if you just want to mix it, or bounce them without anything if you want to keep complete control in the new session. Then you basically have to rebuild your session from scratch. Or and for MIDI, you could either export MIDI files and then actually have to reassign them to all the different instruments that you built in Sonar. Or you could do it the way I do it typically when I mix something, and this is the only reason kind of why I have to like jump between different platforms. I export or basically I bounce all the MIDI tracks to audio so that I have the finished audio, and then I import them in another software. So that's kind of how I'm dealing with that. Cool. Hey, nice to see you, says B-Beats. Hey, you're new. It's cool. There's a lot of new people here that I haven't seen before. Meltem is new, like from Turkey. That makes sense. It's cool. Hey, nice to see you. What's the best way to build your own drum pack? Well, the way I would go with it, like, so that's the one that I'm really familiar with. So that's the one I would probably go with is, so what exactly is your question? I mean, what I'm thinking of when you say that is like, how am I going to sample that, all of that stuff? And I would probably use Kontakt for that. So Kontakt is a really good sampler. There's a free version of it called Kontakt Player. Is that what it's called? Well, there's a free version of it on nativeinstruments.com, which you can download. And that is a really good sampler that is really good to use for that. Someone's calling and I should call back probably. I hope it's nothing urgent. Well, guys, since this was really just an experiment, I think I'm going to cap it off in like 5 minutes. And if this person calls again, then I probably should take it because this is from an unknown number. I hope it's nothing serious. So, cool. Yeah, so Kontakt is probably the best sampler for doing stuff like that. Or also using Apple loops is something I also often do if I just want to drag in some samples. That's the quickest way to do it. In that case, you just take the samples and drag them into that loop thing if you have Logic Pro X. Yeah, that's kind of what I would be doing. I don't know this competition that you're talking about, this international songwriting competition. I don't know it, but I don't know a lot of songwriting competitions. That was really never something I really went for. Cool. Okay, one more question, and then I have to probably take this call. Hope the person calls again. I'm learning the piano, been playing it for about a year, and I was wondering about passing chords in between chords. How do those work? Well, there's a couple of different approaches. If you're talking strictly pop music, then it's typically, so if you're going from super simple stuff, like going from G to E minor, then you probably want to, go through the F there, right? Super simple. Another way you could do it is going through the 5th degree of that chord that you're going to. So instead of going from G, F, E minor, you could also go G and then go to B diminished and then to E minor. Okay, that's maybe not the greatest example because it's a diminished chord. But so let's say, for example, we're going from F to A minor, right? So in that case, I could go F and then, so the 5 of the A minor is the E, right? So because A, B, C, D, E. So that's the 5th step from the A. So I could go to E minor and then go to A minor. Or if you want to sound a little bit more old-fashioned is probably the word I would use, then you could also go, what do we say? So you could also do F and then E major, A minor. That's also possible. And so that's something you kind of can always do in a way. You can always throw in like the 5th degree of that new chord that you're going to. And I would always experiment with, first of all, the chord that is in the key, and then the major chord based on that root note. Okay? Cool. All right, guys. That about covers it. So we had 8 viewers at the end. Oh, that's such a shame. Well, hopefully next time it's going to be more people when I come back at a more convenient time for everyone. But thanks so much for tuning in, and I highly appreciate that you were there, those of you who were there, and hopefully we can do this again. I might do another one of these pretty soon just to test things out a little bit to see how you guys are responding and which times are good for you guys so I can do this at the best time for everyone. Cool? Take care, guys, and see you next time.